with a wish for all beings to be free. Free, oh, excuse me. Free from the contraction and constriction caused by held belief systems and thought patterns. Free from the automatic reactions caused by learned and held emotional patterns. And free from the isolation and suffering caused by distorted perception, misperceptions. I will always rest as refuge, in refuge, as alive, vibrant, radiant, luminous spaciousness. Until spacious awareness is ongoing, like the flow of a river. Enthused by wisdom and compassion. Today, in the presence of all awakened ones, of any lineage or none, and or any time or beyond time, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all beings. As long as space remains, as long as beings remain, may I manifest in such a way, may consciousness manifest in such a way to ease and dispel the miseries in the universe. So Lynn happened to be talking about I knew this on some level, but my son told me.
You know,
sorry?
break free from head.
Was that something I needed to hear? Okay. His Cosmos teacher in college talked to him about the biggest problem the Earth is going to have is that we have a limited water supply. And I went, oh, well, of course. Well, that may be a problem. And then Lynn brought up, which it just struck me again, that of course we have a limited oxygen supply. And maybe in this visualization or sense or hearing or whatever happens today, we can take some awareness and let it, well, I'll just say stuff and take it as you will. I might be quiet sometimes so you can. I believe scientifically, when they started to measure the level of oxygen in air, I don't know when that was, but now it's actually not as high, which I think that's what I remember, but please check it out. Don't take anything I say as fact. But that's an interesting thing. We're on this ball sphere, which in some ways means, to me at least, today, so, well, how do we actually experience that? We are knowledgeable to know intellectually we are flying through space at quite a rapid speed. And we intellectually know that we're spinning. And most of us, at least, I think it's pretty common. We know that, and we don't experience it. So we know things like, oh, well, without gravity, we'd just spin off into nowhere. But the more there's not some mysterious force called gravity. And I'm not a scientist, so study more if you want. It's really a interaction of the universe that creates this field that holds us on the earth. And then we might appreciate or notice with that openness that there's several layers of atmosphere around us. I may get scientific things wrong. Please just look or feel where the pointing is. That protect us, that allow our air that we need to breathe not to just dissipate. And if we rest completely into it, maybe that's one of the reasons this place feels so good. We can sense, experience, feel around for the number of plants and trees that take in what would kill us if that's all we had, carbon dioxide. And it nurtures plants and trees, and they breathe out oxygen. And we may start to feel, if we look at this, as many of us were taught, to look at these happenings outside of us, I think we really miss something. We are breathing in oxygen. We are breathing out carbon dioxide. The trees are, I don't know that they consciously are very happy about that. But it is certainly, you know, how the teachings are always talking about interdependence, interconnectedness. We can rest with that in every moment. Everything, maybe, this morning to me, is recycling. People are breathing in air, humans, all over the planet, and they're breathing it out. We're sharing that air. It's like we have a little pipeline to this pure air that's coming just to us. So in that way, when we rest with it, it might allow some of that strong sense of, I'm an independent being that doesn't have any connection, or only the connections I want. And if you're like me, you just take it for granted, except maybe sometimes. And yet, if I rest with it, this whole interconnected breathing of air, the cycles of water evaporating up out of the ocean, coming around in clouds, dropping fresh water. What the heck? How amazing is that? Coming down as snow sometimes. holding an incredible reservoir for us for the hot months. And then running back into the ocean, cycling again and again and again. We can rest only in the science and get really upset by what's happening on the earth, and there's nothing wrong with that. Except it's not very useful. Or we can experience it. And as we allow the experience of this, I don't want to use just terms, something shifts or may shift. So that even on those days when we're confused, all messed up, we have a knot of we don't know what. Maybe we're angry, maybe we're scared, maybe anything could be arising. We're still breathing. We're still sharing air. We're still receiving air. We're still feeding trees with our exhale, plants. And maybe part of us can just rest right there while all of this other stuff does what it does. Refuge. Is this refuge permanent? Not in form, of course. But you think the dinosaurs were just really stupid? And we're so smart now that we're the top of the chain forever and ever? Probably not. We can mourn, and some of us do, the amount of destruction that humans have created on the earth. Perhaps to the point where we'll destroy ourselves. It won't take a meteor or a outside event. And sometimes that brings up anger. Sometimes that brings up sadness. It can bring up lots of feelings. And we may experience on some level that doesn't go into words the endless cycles of life. Life forms. There's a prayer, I don't exactly remember where it comes from, but it usually is started with the word God. I don't think that has to be some old man somewhere up in the sky. It might be a term like Buddha or Chenrezig that is a symbol of that interdependence, if you will, interconnectedness, which will change. Form we may experience as and include ourselves, not just looking out there. You're not the same as when you were born. Your form has changed dramatically. Probably lots of your thoughts, feelings, perceptions have changed. Maybe some not as much as we might wish. Change is inevitable. And for me today, that just resting in the sharing of the very things that keep us alive, the cycle of water, clouds, again and again and again cycling, allowing us to have water, which without the parched earth, with all its life, may not survive in that manner. It's a wondrous thing. We can rest in the interdependence, if you will, with the plants and the trees. We can rest in the negativity. Gosh, why doesn't everybody realize if we keep strip mining and what's the logging term? There's a logging term where you just clear cut. All are usually in the name of making money. We can get really angry about that. That's okay. If we can let that anger rest in the clarity of the connectedness, instead of driving it into us and making us frustrated and angry, and something might have the potential to arise, some little thing. I believe there are probably more than one person out there who are simply planting trees. Not because it's going to save the earth. Jacques Cousteau said long ago, we've already gone too far. This is a cycle of earth that will end. But it didn't stop him from doing what he did, if you happen to know who he is. Interacting, studying, oceans, waters. So maybe, if you choose and I choose, we can, if you will, make up a practice. You don't have to call it a practice. Wherever we can be, where we experience that. When I have a glass of water and I remember, or it becomes a habit, or it's just natural to appreciate that water in that moment, then I'll pee most of it out and it'll just go back in the cycle. I didn't think to say these things. Now that they're coming out, what better way to find a natural appreciation? And yes, we can turn it into anger, but a natural appreciation of what occurs right this moment. It's amazing. We walk in any kind of nature. I'm a fan of when the non-human arisings outnumber the human. And we experience trees as living beings that are exchanging our carbon dioxide, allowing that to feed them, not allowing, it just does, and then feeding us oxygen. What a different way to walk in the world. It is so easy, and we're all watching it around this world now, to let certain kinds of beings, maybe you want to call them demons, maybe you want to call them anything you want, who have allowed the anger and the rage to become a tool to manipulate. And we have a lot of anger in our world. Maybe we want to make a commitment not to stuff the anger, excuse me, not to put a girdle on it and tell ourselves how wrong we are. To allow it to arise within a bigger context, a bigger experience, and a knowing all things will change. Oh, I forgot the prayer or the wish. I think it's quite old. I don't know. It's used in a lot of different places, particularly where something has caused someone in the human realm to realize, in some sense, that they're powerless over something. And it is universe, higher self, open-heartedness, Chenrezig. May I have the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. May I have the courage to change the things I can. May I have the wisdom to know the difference. My friend Nancy was born into a family that had wealth, and she passed at 93, I believe. Long life, very full. Somewhere along the line, she went off to a women's college. And she realized that girls and women did not have the same advantages and opportunities in so many ways. Gosh, that would mean, well, I'm not very good at the math. It isn't that long ago that women couldn't vote. It's definitely not that long ago that women couldn't hold property. And she realized this, and so she spent her life building connections with primarily women, but there are men that wanted to help too. Building, there's a word for it, cooperative groups. I don't think that's the word, with the same goal that could take action. not to change the world because she was angry, I don't believe, just because it's what she could do without holding on to the outcome. And she realized she could do, not because she was just a wonderful, special person and kinder than most, or none of those kinds of thoughts, not a one. She realized because of the resources that she was born into, she had more ability, more uh, capacity than most people. Didn't mean she had a close, loving family. Didn't mean that at all. It's just what she saw and felt. And it wasn't a save the world moment because of Trogdon Rinpoche talked about it with one of his lamas he taught, who worked to try to help women that are battered, abused. And that doesn't mean men aren't abused. So it isn't a us against them thing. But this Lama, before she became a Lama, because from Chogdad's teachings, worked to help women with shelters. And when she started, she was furious with the abusers. How could you do that? And then she got furious with the police because they wouldn't do anything. It was just normal. Oh, yeah, well, you look calm now. And then she got furious in the end with the women because they would somehow leave, take the children and leave, and then so many times go back. And she was so angry. And I'm told Chogdad said to her, anger has some energy, but it's a come and go. When the anger goes, there's nothing to support the action. I thought that was pretty darn wise. So he said, when anyone realizes that their actions are actually harmful, in this case, by allowing the abuse to go on, was not only harmful to the person being abused, on some level, there was an understanding that it's harmful to everyone involved. And then it was a leaving out of understanding and compassion, not, oh, you poor thing kind of compassion. Like, oh, I'm in a cycle. It's hurting everyone. I can be the one to step out of the cycle. Some of you have practiced that in your lives. You've stopped with your intentions. You've stopped a certain kind of cycle from continuing down the line of generations by your choice and your actions. And if you haven't been able to, getting angry at yourself is not the answer either. How do we really experience and let in the interdependence of all of us? Sure, sometimes we'll be angry. How can we help it? If anybody is actually paying attention, we're doing a fabulous job of wiping out so much life. if we forget the beauty, and I got hung up here for a long time, so I couldn't do Tonglen and understand it. And somebody was kind enough to show me a different way that Tonglen is taught, which I went, oh, of course. If we get caught up in anger at what we think we can't stand, it will wear off. What can we change? We can change ourselves. Not by force, but with wisdom, the awakening of wisdom. Wisdom and compassion. Not, oh, that's so painful. I wish that didn't exist. I'm going to fix that for those poor people. No. The story of Chenrezig. Trying to lift all the beings out of the hell realms. Working eons and eons to get them all out. Finally seeing it empty and looking up. Ah, I did it. And like snow in a blizzard, here came beings falling back into the hell realms. And he was so distraught that he threw himself onto the rocks and broke into 1,000 pieces. You may believe this as a factual story, or you may believe this as a symbol that when we open to it, something may shift. It is said Amitabha, well, different names and different stories. The deity that is the symbol of Western direction. It's Amitabha's Pure Land. Is it real? I don't know. Hear it how you hear it. Amitabha was walking by. Lama Lena takes it, tells it as, saw all these bits and went, oh my gosh, now what's he done? And put Chenrezig back together again. This time with 1,000 arms, or make it infinite, to be able to reach out when needed, and with the eye of wisdom on each hand. So it wasn't, oh, that hurts me so much to see the suffering. It's the eye of wisdom to recognize suffering occurs, and the wisdom to know, not by thinking, it's not intellectual wisdom, how to respond, if at all. It's a wonderful story. Don't miss the beauty wherever you find it. Do you find it when you create art of some sort? Do you even feel sometimes like it's you creating the art? Or do you simply sit with the tools of whatever art you like and something magic happens? Write music, dance. You don't have to be a professional ballerina to dance, and to dance freely without, oh, what is the latest dance and how am I supposed to do that? When I grew up, nobody danced in anywhere around me just to dance. Now, if you go to a place where people dance, you'll find People dancing all by themselves, people dancing with a whole group of friends, maybe all female, maybe all male, maybe all mixed. There isn't that constriction, and not so much how to dance. Oh, yes, I had to learn or got to learn, or whatever I learned was taught. The foxtrot, the waltz, very structured dancing, very beautiful in its own way. If it doesn't limit us to say, oh, that's what dance should be. It's spectacular in its own form, in its own way. How do you like to dance? Do y'all know that saying, if you wait for grace, you'll never dance? What moves you? There have been things in each of our lives that really moved us, changed something for a moment. Where is that for you? Can you, and this is not something that is always apparent to me, and I'm grateful to be with you as the reminder. Can you also see the beauty? No. Can you also experience the beauty? Where do you experience it? In listening to music? In watching or in reading poetry? Areas where nothing's being explained, and yet you're utterly moved. The habits we've been taught from childhood, most of us, not all of us, of see it, name it. Generations and generations have been taught. All of that is out there, and it's called this. Can we put that down for a minute? It's going to come back. You're not going to just go all dumb all of a sudden, what is called dumb. Maybe it would be great, quite a gift. I don't know. Can we allow all of that to fall apart as it can fall away? And can we breathe in air and breathe it out to the whole universe, at least the earth? Can we truly feel, now it gets tricky. If I say gratitude to the trees, I've separated them and named them. Can I rest in the cycles without separation? Knowing that they'll all change, they'll all end, they'll all arise in some other way, some other place. Does that tightness or digpa, as Lama Lena describes it, does it simply arise by trying to control this moment? Or perhaps it arises from trying to control future moments? You might choose to walk the earth planting trees. If you do it because you're trying to prove your point and you're trying to save the world, probably nothing's going to happen, but you're going to get angry. Some people are going to get angry at you and go rip your tree out. just happens. You cherish every tree you plant and wish it the best, that the conditions for its survival can arise. It won't for every tree. The single most interdependent thing we do is to breathe. Air in, air out. Feed your body. Breathe out what doesn't feed your body. Wow. Where's the inside? Where's the outside? Little blurrier line, isn't it? If I were to sum up my friend, which would be really silly, and I looked and said, oh, did she change the world? Probably not. Was she, because of resources, because of her generous understanding, really not, oh, look what I have, I need to share that. Her understanding of interconnectedness, of the limitations that occur in our world. Did she allow opportunities to arise for others to notice that, to learn how to express themselves, to learn how to work with others, to learn how to recognize their, pardon the corny expression, recognize their light? Yes. It's the same motivation. Lama Lena, she way early, when she first knew me, she sent me off at that time to a 12-step meeting, which I had already attended for years, but different kinds. And she said, okay, stop being nice. And I just looked at her funny. And she said, I want you to go and say obnoxious things. You know, just be mean, just say crappy stuff. Hmm. I thought about it. I was pretty gobsmacked by the teachings. And I finally looked at her and I said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Why would I intentionally cause others to feel bad? It's also done often, and I'm not 100% sure all the time of motives or intentions, but it's also done particularly from those in a female body. Being nice is done so you don't get killed. Being nice is done so that people don't perceive you as a threat. Being nice is done for very self-protective reasons. Nothing wrong with that. Of course it is. Maybe if I just smile enough. We have to notice, at least in my life, I have to notice the difference. Like the Chenrezig story. His intention, I don't know this. He certainly felt the suffering. Or she, or they, you could call that. There is no gender attached. Felt the suffering and wanted it to end. But it wasn't until that bit of separation of, I am going to save everyone. was broken, that genuine bodhicitta could arise with wisdom. Genuine bodhicitta is wisdom. It is isness. Today, if you were to go out and you saw a tree that you just didn't like where it was, would you just go get your axe and cut it down? Today, maybe, I don't know that you ever felt that way, but how many times do we take something without seeing it? Guilty my whole life. I'm not aware all the time of, sometimes I'm just looking out my eyes. Through my eyes, sorry. Well, same thing, maybe. If we had to stop and think about, oh, wait a minute, all the time, we may. It's a method. That can be a method to allow something to shift into, what is the word? Isness. Somebody said to the Dalai Lama after he'd done, I guess, a teaching on Dzogchen or something, probably a reporter, said, well, basically, you can do anything then, right? And he said, well, yeah. From such totally different, this is the probably the question asker from a very independent individual. Oh, so I could do anything, yes. And here's the Dalai Lama from an entirely different, interdependent, uh, interconnectedness, saying, well, yes. And so the questioner said, well, then you could kill somebody. And the Dalai Lama just looked a little puzzled and said, well, I suppose, but it would never occur to you to do so. Very different. What helps us? Not to grasp, but to experience the connectedness. Every time we turn it to, I want that, what have we done? And we'll do it a lot. It's not bad. Get rid of that if you can. It's habit, it's survival, it's lots of things. But we've created an I and that out there that I want. The original oops in the prayer of Kuntuzangpo. Kuntuzangpo representing the original Buddha without duality. So when things appeared to arise, there was never the oops of, oh, we're all separate. Any more than there was the oops of, oh, everything's just the same. This and that. You're in your body. Your consciousness is in your body. How stupid to say it's the same as everybody else's. It's shaped by all kinds of experiences, yes? Well, not stupid, not a word I like. Ignorant, maybe. We just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. If we can rest just for a moment as the tree, as the breath. How many of us got taught a meditation that involved breath, and for some reason it was supposed to calm you down and you'd feel better? No. Maybe what comes in goes out. What comes in would kill you if it was held. What goes out may be a gift to trees. What is in and out? Rest right there. From here, it may become simple and obvious that without grasping, forcing, simply with an openness, I'm not even going to call it heart, the greatest gift, this being that feels it's an independent being in this body, can offer the universe, is for us to recognize what we really are. You can try to recognize it for somebody else. Let me know how that goes for you. If you recognize it yourself, all the teachings may just go tick, 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 tick. Not because you understand the words, because everything they're pointing at is you. If your thoughts arise from the dance of aliveness in the open spaciousness of no duality, of lack of duality, sorry. How could you actually be anything other than that? Dharmakaya isn't long ago and far away. You are Dharmakaya from which you arose. You are Sambhogakaya, the very spark of aliveness. How else would you be here? Simple, yes? And you've encountered experiences in this particular body. It's fine to do karma. You can do all the karma and past lives, it's fine. But let's just look at this particular body. And I think I want to share maybe one last thing. Whatever those experiences were, perhaps you were nurtured, perhaps you felt safe, perhaps you felt loved. Well, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. Genuinely, that took a while, and I didn't do it on purpose. I should be happy that they had that. No. Without you having had that, how would anybody else learn to experience love or safety or compassion? If you don't know what it feels like to be loved and cared for, how do you keep from chasing it? What you think it might be? How do you learn the experience of open-hearted, open, whatever I've had the great fortune to see in interactions with people lately for some time? This sort of genuine, I don't know, I don't have words. And I just marvel at it, not at it. And I marvel in it. Wow, that's what they're pointing. And it's messy between people. It's always messy as far as I can see, but there's this quality of, is it maybe as simple as both people know, maybe from long, long ago, somehow know the words that come out that they're lovable, but why wouldn't they? I know, it's amazing to me. I don't know if it is to you. And how would you possibly know that love simply arises without conditions? We mess it up all the time. But geez, even Hitler had somebody that loved him. That's a very old kind of joke. How would you know? So how do we learn if we didn't know? True refuge. It's about all I can come up with. Simple things. Let the trees hold you. Not because they go, "Oh, you're special. I'm going to hold you." You don't have to be special. You don't have to be anything other than what you are. Great words, aren't they? How will you experience that? How do we bring it? Well, sometimes I think that's what all these teachings are pointing at, but you just can't say it. Maybe that's the leap of faith until it's not a leap anymore. Sometimes, and there's a Lama in, he's passed now, Dharma Center of Canada. I don't know if he founded it or he was, all this lineage stuff that goes on in the Tibetan, and it's lovely. But he was recognized by the Dalai Lama and as a big whoop. And I don't say that to be irreverent. I say it so we don't go, oh, of course, they're so much bigger and better than I am. Made of the same no thing that you are. They are the same being in a different manifestation. Maybe like my friend, because she recognized with resources that she'd like to do this. Simple. Anyway, he used to say, I've been told, he'd ask if there were any, and this sometimes gets so misunderstood and it's not meant to be at all. There are many other experiences where some shift can happen. Many, many, many. But he pointed to all the women. And he said, how many of you have given birth, been a mother? Some would raise their hands. He said, you already have. I don't know if he said compassion or bodhisattva. I don't know exactly what he meant by the words. He said, you're already one step ahead. And how I hear that is if you have, and it doesn't have to be a child, if something has arisen in your life that you know, it isn't like, oh, I hope, it isn't like that at all. When you have this little being, Lama Lena talks about her possum that she raised in her cleavage. I don't know if she had this experience with the possum, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to ask her. You know without a shadow of a doubt, if it was a choice between you and that baby, you're gone. it's a knowing on such a deep level. And the first, it doesn't matter, but I'll just share it anyway. The first time I had a baby and I held that baby, I was gobsmacked. And this isn't true of every birth or every mother. Let's not be ridiculous here. I felt very lucky. I went, holy gaboli, to know without a shadow of a doubt. You wouldn't even think about it. It's not thinkable. You would trade your life in a second for that little being to live. And it hit me, oh my, maybe I didn't much like women at that time. And in that time of life, there was a really lot of competition of grabbing men and all. It's just a lot of crap going on. I don't think there's that much of that anymore, but maybe there is. Maybe there always is. Anyway, I didn't think women were very trustworthy. I probably wasn't very trustworthy either. I went, oh, all women that have done this, have they all had that experience? And something completely shifted inside me. Have you ever had the experience? And it doesn't mean you have to. There's nothing about this that say, oh, you should go have a baby. Nothing like that at all. Maybe it's apparent when they're weak and on their way out. And you'd really like to just, here, you have my body. You stay, please. It could be 100 million different things. But for me, it was that to absolutely know you give up your life. Is that love? I guess he said it was bodhicitta. What if we felt that way about everyone? Well, we're not going to, so don't try. There is a koan or a question. And I'd say rest with it rather than just think the answer. Maybe it's what Jesus Christ is a symbol of. I have no idea. It didn't work, but sorry. Uh, if you were told and you trusted, well, let's just say you were told that if you gave up your life, all beings would be free. All beings would recognize I'm going to stick with the experience of interconnected interdependence beyond all the oopses. Would you give up your life? If you've experienced that feeling, certainty, perhaps you know. If you haven't, those questions, and they may still come up, which is really funny. Well, could I just test and make sure this isn't some idiot just trying to watch me die? Is this true? Because if it's really true, maybe it's okay with me to do it, but I'd really like to know if it's true. And on and on and on and on we go. Yeah. Is it possible that what everything's pointing at is so simple we can't experience it? And we need all these things to kind of chip away at all the stuff that keeps us from just going, oh, duh. Maybe we'll just have moments of grace. Okay. They happen all the time. We just don't notice because we're busy steering the boat, right? well, I think the boat should go here. Or if it went over here, it would be better for everybody. I could do that. Let me steer that boat. Nothing wrong with anything in the sense of how we usually see it. Oh, we're bad today. Oh, I'm so good today. Wow. What is it for you? Can you breathe in? Can you be the tree that's breathing you in? Can you be the cloud and experience the whole cycle of water? Or do you like that one cloud and you're heartbroken when that cloud dissolves? Or are you both? I'll stop with one thing. I don't know that I don't really have words. My friend Lynn, who I told you was as alive as any human I've ever met, just where are the words? Is allowing everything she's experiencing just to be. Somehow beyond my capacity. I think, well, I'll stop trying to believe that because she's showing me, not trying to push it away because it's too much, which is not a judgment of us when we need to push something away because it's too much. She's inviting it all just to be. It's remarkable to be in her presence. I've seen it through another person I was fortunate enough to meet, who, because of that, seemed to expand. I don't know. I haven't, that's enough words. Thank you all for being here today. Who knows, maybe we'll be traditional next time. It's been a great pleasure to be with you, and thank you. Grateful for you where this can arise together because we're here together. May all beings have opportunities or an opportunity for what Lama Lena termed the membrane that she perceived separated her from something. She wanted to punch her way out. What I experience more as a veil between this thing that thinks it's separate from everything else. May all beings have opportunities where at least that slides a bit, becomes a bit less dense. Becomes a bit less constricting. I miss my friend in body, no doubt. How could she ever be anything but a part of me? Anyway, thank you again. See you next time.